Welcome, Facebook viewers. My name is Geoffrey Kabita. I'm an agronomist by profession, working with the Amiran Kenya Limited. So today we want to take you through greenhouse crops management. Basically, we'll be dwelling more on what you can see here. We have capsicum crop and also some of the common crops we grow or farmers grow in greenhouses. So in greenhouse farming, of course, not all crops can be done in greenhouses. Farmers usually go for the crops with the high returns, and capsicum, cucumber, squash, and tomatoes, mostly, and flowers. Those are some of the crops you'll find majority of farmers doing in greenhouses. So in the first place, why a greenhouse? A greenhouse is more of a conditioned or a microclimate kind of farming where you can do a crop all year round. Why? Because the conditions which usually control growth or growth and development for the crops, they are usually some conditions all checked, such that you'll find we don't have fluctuations in temperature, we don't have pests and diseases, pest infestation, and we don't have diseases. So you'll find farmers are doing that farming without incurring much expenses. Again, in greenhouse farming also, the labor is also minimal. So you'll find that farmers are spending less in terms of labor expenses. So where do we start? Of course, for every crop, we start with the propagation. The crops we are discussing today, that is capsicum and tomatoes. Usually we start with seedlings propagation. Seedlings propagation, we can do them in two ways. We have the nursery establishment, which majority of farmers will do, and we also have these new, or these are not very new method of seed propagation. As you can see, this is a professional seedling propagation, and for most greenhouse farmers, they go for this kind of propagation from professional propagators. We have these people, these private farms doing this kind of work. And why go for this kind of propagation? Of course, for a seedling, you need the seedling very healthy. You need the seedling such that when you do the transplanting, it's not going to have disease problems. It's not going to take long to establish itself and even to kick off. So if you go for this kind of propagation, you'll end up with a very healthy seedlings. There are some seedling species which usually, if you establish a nursery bed using the other method, you are likely to spend, or you are more likely going to have problems with the diseases like damping off. But with this kind of propagation, you'll end up with the diseases free from which will not suffer damping off. So the second thing is also the choice of the seeds. For greenhouse farming, for different crops, we have greenhouse varieties. So for us, Amiran Kenya, for capsicum, we have Falco, we have Golden Sun, we have yellow and red veins. So those are some of our greenhouse capsicum varieties, and they do well in terms of production and even in terms of the management. They are not prone to some of the common diseases like bacterial, wilt, and other diseases. These varieties are some of tolerant and resistant to those diseases. So, for our crop, we have the seedlings with us. So the next stage is the preparation. Now the land preparation, so that we can do the transplanting. So for land preparation, what are some of the key things you're supposed to consider as a farmer? The first thing in greenhouse farming, you need to see the site where you are locating the greenhouse, or where you intend to do the farming. It needs to be somehow more of a smooth terrain. It's not supposed to be somehow in a topography which is likely to suffer floods or other erosion or those kinds of disasters. The other thing is also the soil. The soils need to be well drained, fine tilled. So in land preparation, you work on the soil, because the soil is the medium where we are going to have the seedling, where the seedling is going to establish itself, become the crop we want to see, and have good roots, good root zone. So you need to work on that soil. So working on the soil entails what? You need to incorporate the soil with organic matter or manure, and this needs to be done thoroughly. Then there are other things you can also do where you are establishing your greenhouse, or where you want to farm. There are other soil factors you need to consider as a farmer, because at the end of the day, there are so many aspects or so many factors which will determine the yield which you will eventually get from wherever you are farming. So we have talked about the soil. The second, still on the soil, we have other qualities which can be determined by doing what we call soil testing. So soil testing is important because it will tell you the soil pH. Different crops will do well at a specific pH. Two, also soil testing will also tell you what is missing. What are some of the nutrients missing or lacking in your soil? Because at the end of the day, the crop will need these nutrients for it to give you the good yield you desire. Then, still on the soil testing, it is going now to guide you. It is what is going to guide you on the corrections or the amendment you need to do. If it is maybe liming the soil, maybe to reduce the acidity, that is if the pH is too low, or if you need to add other things like gypsum, maybe to boost calcium, sulfur, or to work on the deficiencies. It is the soil test that is good. So that is very important as a farmer. That is supposed to be there. It's an important step you need to take. So we have worked on the soil. Again, for greenhouse farming, you also need to consider, even before you establish the seedling, so before you do the transplanting, we have mulching. We have mulching. We have UV treated mulch peppers. It's also a technology which we recommend greenhouse farmers to consider. The reason being, this pepper mulching is also going to help you even to reduce the costs, because where you have done the pepper mulching, of course, we don't have the seedlings will not be competing with weeds. Again, you will not spend on even the weed control. You will not spend money trying to get people to uproot or to weed or do away with the weeds in your crop. So Total mulching again also tries to condition the soil temperature and also the soil moisture around the root zone. And for the small the seedlings, the seedling, remember, it's just a young crop, very tender. With that kind of conditioning, it's going to do very well. So you can also consider the other method of mulching, which I don't recommend. The reason being, the natural or the organic method of mulching, sometimes it also harbors pests. So you don't solve a problem by creating another problem. Then the other thing, now we have our soil, we have done the paper mulching, we have installed the greenhouse and the traps. If you are using that kind of method, you have installed the drips, which most greenhouses, this is the kind of irrigation they use, and also it's one of the best methods of irrigation. We need now to transplant our seedlings. So the transplanting, where do we start? The first thing, in the science or the agronomy of all crops, always rotate around three aspects or three things. One of the things is the practices, just practices in wiki soil, we say binu za kilimo. So for every crop, you realize there is the recommended spacing. Two, in every crop, all the crops you are doing, you also realize that there are those other practices which you do, like trellising or staking, and all that you need also to consider. But at the point of transplanting, the most important thing is the spacing. The spacing is very important because it's all about the crop population, and it helps, or it is important in so many things. Like if you look at our spacing here, for this variety, it is 60. In other farms or in other greenhouses, you will also find other varieties where the spacing is 45 centimeters. So, how does the spacing help? If you have the ideal spacing, in the first place, this crop has its root zone. So, the two crops may not end up competing for resources. The resources here is water, the resources here is the nutrients, and also even the space and even the light. Those are the resources which the crops, if you make them or if you have them very populated, that is using a very small kind of spacing, which is not recommended. The species are going to compete. So here we have considered 60. I've also said that there are other varieties where you see farmers doing by with the 45 centimeters. That is from crop, from one seedling to the other. Two, now after transplant, during the transplanting, and especially if you are using this method, the mulching method, at this point, this is when you also, or farmers also incorporate or apply the planting fertilizer. So for the planting fertilizer, remember this is a seedling which now we want it to establish itself. The farmer would like it to grow. So what is important at that stage, you need a fertilizer which is high in phosphorus. Crops will need up to 16 essential elements, but during the root development, phosphorus is one of the critical. So the fertilizer you are going to consider from our products basket, Zamiran Kenya, we have a very good fertilizer product called Agromaster. So for capsicum and for all the other crops we are doing in greenhouses, including tomatoes, we have a specific formula which we would recommend. One of the formula is 20-32. 20 is nitrogen, that is phosphorus, 2 is potassium. The third stage, as I've said, what is more important is the phosphorus because of root development. Of course, nitrogen is required, but what is more important is the phosphorus because of root development. We also have another formula called 15-24-10. It's also high in phosphorus, so you can still consider that formula. So with those two formula, how do you go about it? The rate actually per seedling is supposed to be 10 grams. You incorporate very well with soil. I wish I had a sample just to showcase how you are supposed to incorporate, such that when you put the seedling in that hole, the fertilizer may not end up scorching the seedling. So that is very important. Incorporate the soil very well. Remember, you had actually done incorporation of the soil with the manure, that is prior or like a week before. Now when you are doing the holes, you do the fertilizer again. You also incorporate with the soil. Then from there, now you can put your seedling. Then you have now done what we call transplanting. So for that crop, that fertilizer is not enough. I just want to proceed with the nutrition until I do away with that aspect of nutrition. So I've said that fertilizer you put during may not be enough for this crop. Remember, we have done something high in phosphorus and also slightly high in nitrogen. So maybe after 1.5 month, that is around 45 days, the crop has already established itself and it's almost reaching 2 months. And for most crops above 2 months, 2.5 months, the crop is nearing what we call the productive stage. At that point, the crop will need a lot of potassium. Potassium is one of the macronutrients and also necessary, essential during the productive stage. That is the stage when the crop will be now what we call onset of flowering, also fruit setting. Potassium is it's essential during that stage. So I mean, you'll have to do another progress for those crops. I've talked about tomatoes. I've talked about capsicum. So during that stage, you need a different formula. Still Agromaster, but a different formula. This formulation is 16, 10, 22. 16 is the nitrogen, 10 is phosphorus, and 22 is the potassium. 22 is the potassium. So this is now the fertilizer, which is now going to kick the crop to the next stage. So for those farmers who complain of maybe the crop started very well with the good size fruits, the first fruits were very big, maybe the second ones were also big, but going forward, you realize that the other crops, the other fruits are somehow small. You need to take on that feeding. You need to do the top dressing and do it timely, because as I've told you, the crop needs these nutrients in order for the crop to give the yield you require. We also do other feeding, which we call foliar feeding. Foliar feeding, usually it's more of a supplementary sort of feeding. But as an agronomist, I have to be very honest with you. The soil, the root zone feeding is very important and critical So we can discuss about the foliar feeding. Foliar feeding, again, you need to understand these crops have different stages, and you need also to give them nutrients as per that stage. When the crop is young, or when the crop is still at the establishment stage, you need to give it also something high in phosphorus. Usually farmers will call it a starter. So our starter is a product we call Agrifite. Agrifite is a product, it's a the composition is 0.3328. It is high in phosphorus and potassium. So if you use this product, it's also going to enhance what we already given the relief, the crop during the transplanting. So what will phosphorus Agrifite has two aspects which I need to discuss with you. It's not just like any other starter. The first thing, it's going to supply with your crop with phosphorus. We have seen its composition. It is in quite a good percentage. Two, Agrifite is also an immunity booster. Agrifite has scientifically has something which I might not explain for now, but has something called phytoalexins. Phytoalexins, what they do, they inhibit the growth of most of these disease-causing microorganisms or pathogens, especially fungal. So when you apply that product, when the crop is at the establishment, you will realize that the crop will be more resilient, will be more stronger, and the crop will not be vulnerable to these diseases. Number two, the crop will reach after that starter stage. You will need the crop will be at the vegetative stage. At the vegetative stage, the crop needs from Amiran, we have a product which is balanced, a very good foliar feed for management because it has the 3 macronutrients plus trace element. This product is polyfeed. The rate of application for polyfeed is 100 grams in 20 liters of knapsack. So you just foliar spray. The rate of application for Agrifite is 50 ml in 20 liters. For Agrifite you can do once. For polyfeed you can continue. Usually we recommend 14 days. 14 days is a ideal interval when foliar feeding. So after foliar feed, the crop will also reach what we call now the productive stage, the flowering stage, the fruit setting stage. At that stage, now you also need to introduce something high in potassium, and that is multi-K for us from Amiran. Multi-K again, it's the rate of application is 100 grams in 20 liters. When you are doing this, even during the flowering stage and during fruit setting, you will also see some problems like fruit abortion or flower abortion. How do you tackle this, or what is the remedy? We also have a product specifically which is supposed to tackle that, and this product is Grocol MGB, 50 ml in 20 liters. So why Grocol? Grocol as the composition, all the nutrients you are bringing from Grocol. We have calcium, we have boron, and we have magnesium. Calcium is very essential in the strengthening of the cell walls of the crop. So when you do the calcium, that is Grocol application, you are going to tackle the problem of fruit and flower abortion. During all that, we also have this crop will also be undergoing what we call stress. It can be biotic stress because of the diseases and maybe the pest which we are going to discuss. It can be also a biotic stress. So for this crop also to overcome the stress, we also need a product which will help it. We call them stress managers. Mostly they are biostimulants. So our option is prominent. We have many, but I will discuss prominent, or I will recommend prominent. The rate of application of prominent supposed to be 50 ml in 20 liters. You just apply, or you premix, you mix with the other products. I've said that this product is going to help your crop recover or overcome all sorts of stress. So that is feeding. That is feeding. Something else I've just remembered. Sometimes also farmers will harvest the crop, and then at some point you realize that the crop is not flowering anymore. Although the crop is still green, the vibrant, not diseased, but you realize that it's like there is what we call dormancy, shoot dormancy, because the crop is not flowering anymore. So if you want to overcome the shoot dormancy, from my experience, or also as an agronomist, I also understand that the flowering also has a lot to do with the shoot development. So you need to stimulate, or you need something that will break that shoot dormancy, and that is a product called TVAG. TVAG is recommended. You just mix it with the other foliar feeds as you apply, and what you realize as a farmer, I know because farmers are very keen to know what will happen, or why am I saying it is going to induce new shoots and maybe new flowers. That is specifically what TVAG does. Biostimulants are specifically made for shoot development and breaking dormancy, including sprouting in other crops. So I think with that package, you are good to go with your crops as far as nutrition is concerned. Remember, we have talked about AgroMaster for the soil, and also a different formula of AgroMaster for top dressing. And then we have also discussed different foliar feed formulations for different crop stages. I usually remind farmers, crops are different. They also grow in different phases, different stages, and they require different nutrients. And as a farmer, you need to consider that. You need to give the right, do the right thing, and you will see yields. I want to move to a different area, which is crop protection in greenhouse. It's not different from what we do in the open fields, because there are what we call important diseases for these crops. And these crops, the only way I've told you the difference is that this one is growing in a conditioned environment, and it is conditioned because we want to cut expenses, or we want to cut on diseases, infestation, pests or insects. We also want to cut on the weeds. We want also to condition the soil moisture, soil temperature, and all that. So when we come to the diseases for capsicum, because this is what we have here today, we have the important diseases, and they are several, but I will discuss maybe 3 or the major ones. So in the first place, when you establish the seedling, remember we talked about the different methods of propagation, but when you establish the seedling, and many farmers will see that, especially from nurseries which we just established for ourselves, you realize that the seedlings will be, there is more of a dying back kind of a disease. We call it dumping off. It's just it's a fungal disease, but it affects seedlings or a crop around the stem, just near the rootstock. So how do you deal with that disease? Immediately after transplanting your crop, you'll have to drench, and when drenching, you drench just around the root zone. You drench around the root zone. When drenching, ensure the soil moisture is sufficient. So for damping off, the product I will recommend is Godazine. Godazine is a good product which will help you deal with that, that disease, and your seedlings will survive. The survival percentage will be better. So Godazine, the rate of application is 20 ml in 20 liters. You just drench and the crop will be good. So another disease, I am trying to see if I can have something I can see here. Yes, we have this one. We also have this one. So these are common disease in greenhouses. This is the mildew, powdery mildew. We have two of them, powdery and downy mildew, but this one specifically is powdery, because you can see these are whitish mold, which even when you touch, you are likely to see it's already there. You can even rub it. So this is powdery mildew. It's a fungal infection. So how do you control this, or what is the remedy? We have a product called Orthelotop. Orthelotop is one of the products which is very good at 10 ml in 20 liters of knapsack water. So the other products, I'll just give two products. We have a product called Bigo. Bigo is also a good product, also which will help you overcome powdery mildew. Bigo, the rate of application is 15 ml in 20 liters. The other mildew is downy mildew. Downy mildew is not very different from from what we are seeing here. Because if you can look keenly, you can see yellow. The upper side of the leaves, the upper side of the leaf is showing some yellow patches. So for downy mildew, that is also the case. But at the underside, there'll be a mold which is not whitish, spotty, but not whitish, more of yellowish. So those are the two diseases, and you still use the same products. Also for downy mildew, you also use Orthelotop and Bigo. There is another disease, because this is a horticultural crop. There's a disease called anthracnose. Anthracnose, mostly you just see some black spots, more of pimple sort of. That is the anthracnose. In other crops, anthracnose moves all the way to even the fruits. It's not here, but I will also mention it. So for anthracnose, again, you also use the same, the two products, but I'll also add a different product which is copper based, which is Metacop. Metacop again, also if you use it again when the crops are young, it is copper based, and it's going also to provide protection, or it's going to prevent most of these diseases. The rate of application for Metacop is 40 grams in 20 liters. The diseases are many. We have bacterial diseases like bacterial wilt. It is common, but again, I talked about working on your soil and doing soil testing. I forgot also to mention that during the soil testing, you are also supposed to do, there is a pathological test or pathogen test. During that stage, the soil test results are able to tell whether the soil where you are doing the farming has some of these diseases like bacterial wilt, cerium wilt. It's supposed to be, and when you know, now you know how to handle or how to deal with the diseases. So other diseases, we also have viral diseases, very common. I've not seen one. I said our varieties are tolerant and resistant to these most of these diseases. So I've not seen a viral disease incidence, but they are there. They are there. So what you do with some of these is also the choice of the seeds, the choice of the seed varieties. And the other thing which is good is the field hygiene. Those people who are doing the operations in the farm and even the tools they are using, you need to have them, let me use the word, clean or disinfected or sanitized, such that you will not end up spreading diseases or introducing diseases in your farm. That is something you need to be very keen on. So on diseases, I think that is we are some at least for capsicum farmers we are good. For maybe tomato farmers, we have blight diseases. Again, we also recommend those two, late blight and early blight in tomatoes. We recommend Metacop 40 grams in 20 liters. Alternate with the Bigo 15 ml in 20 liters. For you to have full control of these diseases as a farmer, remember it is very important to alternate these products or these fungicide products. Why? Because you need to avoid building what we call resistance. You need to avoid building what we call resistance. So these are just a sample of the fruits we have, and they are good size fruits, as you can see. I just want to move to a different area, which is pests or insects. Insects is also another problem which can be really a menace in greenhouse farming. For those who do tomatoes, you realize that you might even end up with what we call tuta absoluta, even in greenhouses. We still have products for that. So the very first pest I will start with is one that comes during the transplanting or just during the establishment stages. For all seedlings, it attacks especially the seedlings. It's soil-borne, and it's the name is cutworm. That is the common name. So for newly established seedlings, even in open field farming, you realize there's that more of a caterpillar, a worm, which will tend to cut. Will just tend to cut the crop just at the base or around the rootstock, and then the crop just dries. So immediately after transplanting, it's also recommended, as you do the fungicide maybe for what I call the dumping off, you can also mix with an insecticide and you drench together. Drenching the insecticide will help you overcome or control the cutworm. So the products I would recommend for cutworm, I'll only mention two. One is Trigger, 10 ml in 20 liters. Two is a product called Buffalo, 10 ml, 15 ml in 20 liters. The other pest is aphids. Aphids is also another very common. I think when I was scouting, I saw several. Yes, I have one here. So you can see the tiny on the underside part of the leaf. You can see this small. So this is the aphid, green aphid, and again you can use Trigger, either Trigger or Buffalo at the earlier said rates. There is a third product I will add, that is Aster Extreme. Those three products will you will be in a position to control the pest. So aphid, we also include. There is also another pest called thrips. They are sucking pests, and these products are good at managing them. Then I'm trying to see maybe what else I've forgotten, because I know the keen farmers who are keen will want to know why I never mentioned that. During the fruit formation stage, you realize that this is not just a fruit abortion, because some fruits will be rotting from the attachments. So you'll also discover more of a mold, whitish mold, just at the attachment, and then the fruit just rots. Sometimes it's even the flowers. You see the white mold, then the flower just starts rotting. So that disease is called botrytis. It's also a fungal disease for farmers, because I know many farmers just find it and it comes especially that time when you are harvesting. It's botrytis, it is manageable. One of the products that can manage it is the Godazine, 20 ml in 20 liters. The other one is Bigo, 15 ml in 20 liters. Those two products you'll be guided by the PHI, because if you are harvesting, you need to consider the PHI. It's very important. Maybe other pests. Another pest which is also a menace is white flies, especially when the crop now is at the productive stage or when you are harvesting. White flies, I've seen farmers struggling with white flies. So again, Asta Extreme and Buffalo will help you manage this pest called white flies. But then again, I mentioned about practices. On practices, one of the things you do in greenhouse is pruning. Pruning is very important, and also that weeding, because white flies, the breeding of white flies, that pest, usually is encouraged by very bushy crops and tidy fields which are not that hygienic. So just prune your crop, do the trellising or the staking such that the crop will not be bushy. I think those are the important aspects. I know I've not discussed all because of time, but at least if you are considering or if you intend to do greenhouse farming, you can consider the points or those aspects I have discussed and mentioned, and your farming enterprise is going to be productive. I said my name is Geoffrey Kabita. I work with Amiran Kenya during in Naivasha and Kinangop region. Thank you.